After I made a video about how I felt about the Bridgerton Season 3 finale, I realized that as much as there were good things about that finale, there were also things that could have been improved. Overall, I think that Season 3 Part 2 was a little messy, and I can't make you a list of all the wrong things about it. I blame the writers for this. Let's see if you agree or not. Not enough loving Polin. Yes, this is one of my main disappointments. Especially after Colin learned about Lady Whistledown, we rarely saw acute moments between them. Understandably, Colin was angry with Penelope, but this is their season. I admit that it felt more like a season focusing on Penelope rather than Penelope and Colin together. And it seemed they only included that little short scene to remind viewers that they do have sex, don't worry. I'm not a freak for too many sex scenes, but when people who are not supposed to be the main characters of the season have more sex scenes than the lead characters, that becomes a problem. I mean, how many Benedict intimate scenes were there in the finale? I think his threesome started at the end of episode 7, and then they cut to him 3 or 4 times throughout episode 8, which was ridiculous. And then how many were there for Penelope and Colin for the entirety of part 2? It's just that at the end of the day, this is a show about romance, so it's only natural that people want to see the main couple all happy and romantic. So this was one of the shortcomings of season 3. Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Too many storylines. This has been one of my main complaints since part 1. I understand that there are many characters in the Bridgerton universe, but do they all need to have a storyline each season? The Mondrits, for example, I do understand that their sudden rise in society is interesting, but they were not really connected to the other characters and their storylines. So much focus was put on Will's Gentleman Club being closed down, whereas that could have been told to the viewer in a single dialogue. In a season packed with too many characters, the Mondrit storyline could have simply been shorter or not exist at all. Similar things can be said for Benedict's storyline as well. I get that they didn't want to leave him without a storyline, especially if he's going to lead the next season, but I found most of his scenes unnecessary. Besides the info that he's apparently bisexual now and open to all kinds of love, those scenes really didn't add much to his character or the overall story of the season. He's still a rake, but bisexual. Okay. The main problem arises when the storylines of the side characters steal scenes from the main couple of the show. Apparently, there were a few Polin scenes that were deleted from part 2. There's a Change.org petition right now that urges Netflix to release those deleted scenes, which include Polin laying in bed together, talking about publishing Colin's manuscripts, and a long, intimate montage in episode 8. I can already think of 5 scenes that could have been cut to leave way for these Polin scenes. What about you? Cressida's ending. We all know Cressida was a bully to Pen, but part 1 spent so much time making us think that she was improving as a person. She had parents who immediately wanted to marry her off to the first guy who would say yes. Her backstory was sad, and we saw her as someone who wanted to be free. Even her intentions when announcing she was Lady Whistledown were not that wrong. She wanted to get rid of that marriage and also have financial freedom with the bounty money that would come from the queen, but then with the blackmailing, the showrunners turned her into a villain again. So she was bad, then she was good, and she was bad again. They made her likable by making us feel sorry for her, but then took away all the character development that was there. In the end, did she really deserve to be cast off society? And what happened to Lord Debling, who just disappeared right after part 1? He knew that Cressida was interested in him. That doesn't make any sense at all. Francesca and Michaela. Well, I did make a whole video about this, but I thought I would mention it here again. My main disappointment is not with Michael being turned into a woman. It's the fact that Francesca spent so much time trying to convince her mother that she loved John. We all believed her. But then, as soon as she sees Michaela, she's stunned and cannot even speak. What the hell was that actually about? Did she not love John? Why is she losing her ability to speak while talking to a woman she just met right after her wedding? I would have loved it if they started off as friends and their relationship blossomed after John died, but it looks like the show might be taking a different approach. In the Bridgerton book focusing on Francesca, her love story with John had such an important place and she really was in love with him. In the show as well, we got this whole scene about how Violet's hot, fast love counted as much love as Francesca's slow burn with John. The thinking was that both women were able to find the right person, but that there's more than one way to get there. Now it seems they're throwing that out the window. I'm not even sure if they will give Francesca and John any sexual chemistry, considering the look on Francesca's face when she kissed John at their wedding. It's a bit disappointing to make us love John and make Francesca stutter when she meets Michaela. What did you think of that moment? Kanthony scenes. My final complaint about Bridgerton Season 3 Part 2 is that Kate and Anthony kept coming and going for no reason, and that Anthony, who witnessed his mom giving a traumatic birth, was okay with his pregnant wife traveling all that distance. First of all, they came back, stayed a little bit, and then disappeared. They returned for the Polin wedding and then decided to go to India, which meant that we didn't see their child being born. We hadn't seen their wedding either, so this was a blow. It also meant that Anthony wouldn't be there for his sister's wedding, which doesn't make sense at all. We already don't see Daphne at her siblings' weddings, so not having Anthony there was no good either. What are some of your complaints about Bridgerton Season 3 Part 2? This is a safe space, you can rant all you want. If you want me to make more videos on Part 2 or the show's cast, leave your recommendations in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you soon.